they know they need to do content, but they don't know how, or they don't know what to start.
You make videos about all the shit that people have asked you over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, put that up on YouTube, and then just transcribe that and take the content of that video and throw it into your blog.
Weakness may sound and feel good in the moment, but it's not going to be something that pays you dividends in the long run.
Welcome back to another episode of Mission to Grow Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. This episode is proudly sponsored by the team over at Roofer. If you need help with instant roof measurements and clean and pristine proposals, be sure to hit up the team at Roofer. Today we're with Patrick Carr, none other, the man, the myth, the legend. What's up, brother?
Man, I really appreciate you and your team having me on. I think that you are making a positive impact on the blue-collar community with your attitude, with just your character. So it's a real pleasure to be able to join you today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm equally ecstatic about having you on, and I feel very strongly that you're doing the same, so we align in that way, and I am grateful for that as well. So thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
So, Blue Collar Media Group, what do you guys do?
So I'll tell you this, there are two sides to my business. Blue Collar Media Group was established to help contractors with their content. I am not a media, or I should say, not a marketing guru. I'm not a marketing company. We're a content company for blue-collar trades. And we have been fortunate to work with roofers and restoration, first-party claims attorneys, because the fact is, and you see this with your agency, is that people, they know they need to do content, but they don't know how, or they don't know what to start. And my job is to help bring out their story so that people can fall in love with that company, not just from what they do, but their people, their values, their story behind it all, and hopefully build some raving fans of those companies through great content month in, month out. We do a subscription, so we go out to the business. I don't believe in living in the ivory tower. I want people to truly meet the companies that we work with month in, month out, and fall in love with them. And then I have the podcast side with the Patrick Carr Show, and that is about telling the story of entrepreneurship. It could be, a roofing contractor. We've been doing small businesses. I had a repair shop that we did for cars. I did a guitar shop last week, building custom guitars. I just enjoy hearing the story that too often men in this country don't get a chance to tell because they don't think it's special. They don't think it's unique. And my goal is to try to show that in a different light and hopefully be able to do it in a somewhat entertaining way.
I think that's a good goal, for sure.
Yeah, there's no money. Like people think that there's no money coming at me from it. And we've got some great sponsors on our show, and you've got Roofer I see on yours, and that helps to keep the lights on. But the goal is not just to make money. The goal is to be able to have the funds to get out there and to sit down with somebody in Missouri or in Colorado and tell that person a story and hear what they've been through. Because I think that people feel they're alone. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years, whatever you're doing. And damn, I feel like I'm the only one. No, you're not. A lot of people feel this, and it feels good to know you're not the only one perhaps going through that scenario in your business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I actually just wrapped up a podcast about 45 minutes ago, and we were talking about things like being vulnerable or even just engaging in that cathartic behavior. And what's fulfilling for me is, like you said, the same thing is like people being able to have that conversation, because if you don't talk about it, there could be a million people in the same situation as you or eerily similar, but that sense of being alone in that moment, it's taxing on the soul. It makes your days very challenging, and to know that other people are there with you and they're going through the same type of things, there's a certain relief, I feel like, that comes with that. So, yeah, that's amazing, dude.
Well, I always say this, and you use the word vulnerable, and I think this is something that a lot of business owners confuse. Vulnerable is a good thing, but setting yourself up to for people to show empathy or sympathy towards you is something completely different. Saying, hey, listen, I'm going through something right now. Okay, get it. 3 days later, you're asking for people to support you in at that point, you're asking for sympathy, not vulnerability. And I think it's a fine line that business owners need to walk in understanding which one is important in the moment that you're in. And I rarely tell my clients that weakness may sound and feel good in the moment, but it's not going to be something that pays you dividends in the long run. People don't want to follow a weak person. They want someone who can handle their problems, handle their business, and get it done. And if you consistently show that you can't, because you're trying to be vulnerable all the time and open your doors and show people your problems, I think you're going to find that people don't look at you as the same leader as if you just handled your crap and moved forward. So I think there's this line with vulnerability that sometimes gets confused.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction to make. And I think also vulnerability is going to have, obviously there's a definition of vulnerability, but the way people perceive it, I think there's a subjective nature of it where it's not always, let me reveal the most inner part of my being, and which would compromise me potentially through the lens of the people that I lead. But say, like, acknowledging that your business isn't perfect, and this doesn't need to be on a podcast, right? This can be with a mentor or coach. This could be with a competitor that you work harmoniously with, right? And you guys going back and forth and even opening up to that level of having that conversation, to me, would be like kind of a form of vulnerability, especially in blue collar, where I don't think that a lot of guys, I think that there's a lot of people that could benefit from having those conversations, but won't make themselves vulnerable enough to acknowledge that there's an issue, and there's a lot of opportunity for improvement within that.
Yeah.
I didn't, however, ever really think about what you had mentioned as far as like going down that road of vulnerability and how that can undermine you as a leader. That's fucking fascinating. That's a really good point.
I'll take it a step further because I'm on a big kick about this right now that I won't let go of, and I plan on not letting go of it for a long time. I think business owners right now who are highly involved in social media are making the huge mistake of confusing with themselves that their questions that they put onto Facebook and groups and Instagram are going to benefit their company. I don't believe that. I see far too many stupid questions being put out there on Facebook groups. What they're doing is they're aiming to ask stupid questions in order to get some kind of validity to themselves when 70 people put a comment that I guess makes them feel like, man, my question out there was good. No, it's not. It's a dumb question. Go figure it out with people that truly you can trust and that care about your company. Trusting 70 people with their comments because you want to ask what the best CRM or how do I pay my employees or these kind of things that roofing contractors ask is not benefiting you. It's showing that you don't know what the heck you're talking about. If you need to ask 70 people, how do you pay my employees? If I'm your competition, I'm looking at that going, you don't even know how to pay your employees, bro. And if you're asking 70 people with their comments how they do their sheet, how do you know this person is successful? Instead, seek out and do a little bit of work. Find 5 people that have a business similar to yours. It's not very difficult. And trust those people. Put your trust in that. But in an effort to gain validity for themselves because they otherwise need the attention and aren't getting it somewhere else, they're asking questions that they should already know as business owners. And if you don't, then find people around you that can answer them rather than the guy 5 states over from you who could care less about your success, doesn't care if you and your family go hungry, doesn't care if you go out of business the next day, but you're continuing to ask for his validity. That makes absolutely zero sense to me. I just can't see the benefit of doing so.
Why does this happen?
Because men, in my opinion, there's a lot of insecurity. Men want to have, in some level in this country right now, business owners want to have somebody and say, hey, I get it. I'm with you. We're trying this thing together. They just want to feel relevant. And so therefore they're asking questions and they're disguising their insecurity with, I just want to hear what people's responses are. I'm looking for something. Give me feedback. To me, what it's telling me is you're not looking for feedback. You're looking for someone to say, hey, I'm here going through this too. I have an answer for you. We can start a dialogue because they don't know where else exactly to turn. And I think it's a real shame, Michael, to tell you the truth. It's a real shame because it's not making them look like a better business owner. And I think they're confusing, as what kind of bringing it back to me, that vulnerability with insecurity. And that's a real tough place for a lot of people to be in.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. So how would someone in the moment delineate between a question kind of along the vein of what you're talking about and then like maybe a question that is suitable for a group that isn't just attention seeking or looking for some sort of affirmation?
Yeah. I would say you look at it and you go, okay, if I'm looking for an answer to a question because if that's going to benefit my company, not a poll, not trying to figure out, do you guys like this part of Acculinks versus this part? Okay, that's not going to affect. I'm looking for maybe some feedback of maybe what I'm doing wrong with this plugin that I'm using. I get that. But if you're looking for something to benefit your company, you're looking for a platform to use, a piece of technology. You're trying to figure out, should I do something or should I not, a decision within my company. And you're asking random people for advice, then you're going to get random answers. And how do you distinguish between what's right and wrong without knowing that person's company, how long they've been in business? Do they care about you, or maybe they're just putting out BS out there? There's a lot of, unfortunately, malicious people in this world. And if I'm your competition, especially within the same state, and I see that, bam, that's it. I just don't see how you're thinking you're going to get the best advice possible, Michael. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree. And even, there's tons of malice, 100%. There's malicious people and nefarious actors. But even for those people that aren't acting maliciously, there's plenty of people that just don't know and they want to be a part of the conversation, right? There's a lot of people that are really fucking smart and know their shit, but there are a lot more that don't, I promise you. And the ones that don't, they're not forthcoming a lot of the times that they don't know, but they're happy to lend their opinion as far as what should or shouldn't be done, right?
So true. I look at, I think about that. I was talking with a group called Shegog Roofing down in Orlando today. We were at lunch earlier, who I was with them this morning. And I pointed this out, that there are so many fake people because this industry lends itself to it. For instance, somebody can walk out tomorrow and say, I got a $10 million company. I don't know any difference. I don't have their books in front of me. There's not some, publicly traded platform where we all can see what everyone's doing. I don't know what's going on in that company. But if I just do a slight bit of work and I seek out somebody that another person tells me has helped them, I build a group of 4 to 5 guys around me. You've done a great job of this with marketing companies. You've got a good relationship with other marketing companies, it seems like the Hook Agency guys and all that. You've got good people that you interact with, and I just don't think roofers and restoration professionals are doing an adequate job of finding good, solid people, and they're therefore turning to Facebook groups and Instagram posts and YouTube videos for the answers to questions that come from people we have no idea if they're even successful at what they do. That hurts me. I want people just to find a good group around them, people like yourself if they have marketing questions and want to understand more, not just a random group of people that they can call on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What really is like a knife through my heart is when I see guys asking like legal advice on a Facebook group or tax advice.
Another good one, yes.
And I'm like, and I don't like to chime in because I don't want it to seem like I'm being an asshole or coming from a place of hate. But it's like, man, if there's 2 areas of your business that you shouldn't go to a Facebook group for, I feel like tax and law are probably the 2 front runners, right? Pay a good attorney, pay a very good accountant, and get those answers from them. But to your point, right? Even if you're not at the point, maybe you're just starting out and you're just in the early days of your venture as a roofing or a contractor in general. If you build out a network of people, like you said, that are vetted and that you can trust, to where you can have a reciprocal relationship, like maybe that's a more appropriate question that you can lean on your network for some guidance. Like, what have you done? But that implies that they've been there before, so they can actually give you qualified advice.
Yes.
And that would be a good starting point. I would push anybody who has questions about law and taxes to get with a professional. But some of the less technical stuff, maybe somebody else can give you some guidance. Just don't ask it in a general Facebook group of 30,000 people.
Yeah, what is it? Stupid play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And so in this case right here, ask stupid questions, receive stupid answers. And stupid means it's just ignorant. You want to do this in other parts of your life. The example I use, Michael, is if you were a guy and you're going through a problem with your wife, divorce is around the corner, would you walk into a random group of 50 guys who are married and say, guys, give me advice, without knowing, does that guy have a successful marriage? Right. Has he worked through these problems himself? But we do it differently for our businesses, although they're probably the thing that we love just as much as our significant other. We spend just as much time, if not more, with them. So if you wouldn't, see, that's the point I'm making here. Kind of round. I know it's been long-winded here, and I apologize to your viewers and you, but I want to say that think about that example. Why am I going to random people? Why am I not seeking good, solid help from marketing, from an Ascend or someone? Really think about who's going to be giving you these answers and why you're asking a question like that.
Yeah, great point. And to digress for a moment, you say play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I would think I was 12 years old. I was at a carnival, and there's that stupid fucking game where there's a basket and it's tilted at 45 degrees, and the carny hands you these bouncy balls, and he shows you. He's like, all you gotta do is this, and he fucking flips it into the bucket. You get this big old prize. I had like $45 on me to my name, and I wasted every one of my fucking dollars and could not sink the shot. So that was a stupid game, and I didn't even win the stupid prize. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Look at that, man. Frustrating.
don't fall victim to the carnies and their tricks. All right.
Yeah, that's right, man. Shoot, man. I get that, bro.
So why is content so important? Why?
Well, I think that 20 years ago it was less important because you could walk into some place and you can shake hands with somebody and you could go to a conference. Now it's important because you have an opportunity to shake thousands of hands in a day, millions even if you've got a great piece of content, and you can put it out there and shake their hand without ever having to leave your office because you say something that spoke to somebody. You're digitally interacting and meeting with people in such a much more profound and, I want to say quick, but it's just a more efficient way of doing business. You can still go to the conferences and shake hands, but you're not going to get as far as somebody who's willing to put out consistent content, vulnerable content at times, but that they're 10xing, 100xing, 1000xing what you're doing at a conference, and you had to travel to get there. It's just much more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at it like if I'm a company, which I own a company, and I care what other people, especially those in my target market, how they perceive my company. It's important to understand that opinions, while they're formed, they're also malleable, right? Like we can reform them. They can be reshaped for better or for worse, right? And the type of content you put out, the frequency of content that you put out will help move that perception and push the narrative that you want or should want. Yes. And there's not a better way to do that than video content, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's
and you don't have to be a brainiac. You don't have to have all the equipment. You've probably got the Shure mic right there, it looks like. You've got, there you go. So, and those are great pieces of equipment. But you know as well as I do that somebody who's authentic and takes a cell phone video and at least just does something, you can have an impact on people. And sometimes you don't even know how many people you're reaching or the impact you may have. And I think, I got a call from a guy the other day talking about content, and he's like, I've been doing testimonials with homeowners. It's not getting anywhere. I'm not getting the traction for it. And I said, how many have you done? 20? 10? Like 6, 7, something like that. And I said, do 100 more. When people talk about podcasts, do 300. And then figure out, okay, where did I go wrong? But there's something to be said for content, the people that consistently do it. I love that. I love somebody that all the time does it over and over again. Anybody can start doing it. Kudos to you. You keep up with this thing and bring in great guests. You know as well as I do, most people give up after 2 to 3 weeks. They figure out this is a lot harder than what it seems. You got to edit this stuff. You got to find time for it, the guests for it. You've got to prepare for it. And so content is extremely important, but the people who do it consistently are going to be the ones who win, not the people who are looking for the flash in the pan and the immediate ROI on one video.
Yeah, those are awesome points, man. You think back to I watched Joe Rogan's first podcast yesterday, and the quality of that thing was fucking dog shit. It was an absolute shit show. Couldn't get the quality. Like, it was shitty quality if it were to be ran optimally, but they had all sorts of issues with it, and they're troubleshooting it on air, and it's like, it's just a testament to what you said, right? Like, don't be paralyzed by the fact that you're not amazing on camera. You don't have the best equipment, right? Like, those things it's okay. Like, people will still, in fact, I was down in Florida 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I shot some drone content, had it chopped up for one of my clients. his content up on a roof with a fucking selfie on like an iPhone 8 performed way better on Facebook than that piece of dope content that we shot. So it's okay. People like that authenticity, right? Like it doesn't have to be 4K perfect sounding. It's all right. Just do it and keep doing it. And right at the time you want to fucking quit, double down on it, right? Bite down on your mouth guard and fucking keep it going, dude. I mean,
I love what you say there, yeah.
well, I mean, here's the thing. You do a shit ton of content. Like, I have a full-time editor in-house. She chops up reels and puts them everywhere. And it sucks, dude. Like, when I go into YouTube and I see that, like, this YouTube short's got 7 views from 3 days ago, like, that, it's discouraging, right? It is. But I'll also have one that'll pop with 4,000 views, right? And you know what? I'm going to fucking inundate their algorithm with content, and we're going to test different things to see how their algorithm responds to it. And, we're going to take this bitch right here, the Mission Control, from 600 downloads to 6 million. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take, and we're going to keep pushing the needle.
And I think you make a good point there. If you got 4 views, then you got another one that gets 4,000. I've told my clients that when you want to give up, know that's when most people do. So when your view gets 4 and you go, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. I don't want to do this stuff. That's exactly when 99% of people will go, enough. You just pushed past 99% right there. Now you're dealing with a smaller group of people who are willing to do more. And if you want to keep on doing it, there'll be these points that you're like, I could just focus on my business. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you push back past another, and your pool gets smaller and smaller, the people that you're really competing against. And I think that's when you get really excited. Like, I'm not giving up. I just beat 99 out of 100 today, because that's when most people will. And that's the motivation that keeps me on going in my head.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. It's almost like, I mean, you look like you may have worked out once or twice, right? Like that pushing through that last rep, right? That to failure rep, right? Like, there's immense gains there. Getting up out of bed, getting to the gym, just to keep. So I've always talked to people, and I mean, you're in far better shape than me, but I work out pretty consistently, and it's like, dude, there will be days that I don't want to go, and I'll go, and you could call it half-assing it. I'll get a workout in. It won't be the optimal training day, but you want to know what? We kept the fucking momentum going. We showed up. We got there. Right?
Yes. And that's sometimes how content is for businesses, that you just showed up. And as I say, you live to die another day. And you got out there, you did what you needed to do, and then tomorrow you'll improve. You pushed through. What is the workout saying? Is no one ever says, man, I really regretted that workout. They did it and they felt good about it, better about it. And I think that's how, sometimes putting out a piece of content can be. Well, I did it today. The video wasn't very good, but I talked about a customer and we did what we needed to do. Good for you. Take that moment and say, I did more than what most would do. Most would have just hung it up. Most would have made an excuse. But as a business owner or an individual, I didn't do that. And I think there's something extremely powerful and gratifying in that.
Fuck yeah. How do you structure? So you're on Blue Collar Media Group. You guys go on a retainer and you do monthly content. Like, what does that typically look like for a contractor?
Depending on where it's at, it's somewhere around $6,000. And then that's, every month what that does is we come out to your business. We do a pre-production call and we figure out what we need to focus on that month. Maybe you're doing roof rejuvenation right now. You're working with like an ugly roof, let's say. Okay, well, you need some ad videos and you need to make sure that people in your market know what you're doing. So let's start making some videos, just maybe a couple of them. We'll run a couple of them for you, or you'll run them. Maybe you've got a couple of employees who have done a really great job and you want to highlight your employees. You've got a Christmas party you want us to do. So all of this stuff, we figure out what we need to do, and then we show up in a week and a half. We get everything down on our videos in one day. So we're 8 hours of footage. We come back to the office here, and next door they're doing this right now. We're breaking that content into short form pieces. And then we're delivering those short form pieces approximately every other day across their social media, website, whatever they'd like us to do. We're branding that company with their own people, and you don't have to give us every day of your time. We need one full day of your time, and for the rest of the month, you don't have to think about your content. It's being delivered to you without you even having to do anything. So they were building the brand for that individual. It's not easy. That's why I had to get away from it, because I'm going to tell you, there's only 20 work days in the month. And if I'm going out there to your business, that limits me to 20 clients. And I wanted to grow something that would be more impactful, and that's how we started to change and focus also on the podcast and growing that too, because I need to be able to maximize our input, maximize our ability to touch people out there, and I didn't think 20 companies was going to be enough.
Yeah, and for anyone that's listening, that's like, man, $6,000 is a lot. I would encourage you to go shoot 8 hours of content somewhere and then hop in an editing platform. And that shit is, whew, man, oh man.
And so here's what people pay me for. Is most of the time, we're not getting paid to be a videographer. We have great videographers on the team. What they're paying us for and what they're paying me to be there for is to go, this ain't going to work. Or, okay, there's something here. We need to make this. I know what's going to work for them because I've done it hundreds and thousands of times now for contractors. So I can look at it and go, okay, in my repertoire, we tried this 2 months ago, and this ain't going to work. We need to retool this thing. Just like they pay you. They don't pay a cent to do digital marketing. They pay for your expertise in that area. You know the market. And so I know the blue collar like you do. And so from a content perspective, I'm able to work with digital agencies and marketers to go, okay, guys, here's what I was going for in this video. Here's how I think it can be used. You know how to make that happen, but this is what the client wants out of it. So we become a team with that marketing agency to get good content together with good marketing, and hopefully that builds the brand by more and more eyeballs.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. Where do you find that they have most success when deploying that content?
Well, in my opinion, the thing that everyone's missing right now is the power of YouTube. Business owners between 35 and 45 have been told for the last 10 years, social media, Facebook, Instagram ads, they've been told, Gary Vee has preached that for a long time. People saw that. They're not understanding the power of YouTube right now and how to use content on YouTube. So I tell people this, why not just figure out the 20 questions that most of your customers ask? Create a short 3-minute video titled exactly what that question is. What's the difference between 3-tab and architectural shingle? Patrick Carr explains. And I would go in and put that in there into my YouTube repertoire along with 19 other short form videos. And then I would go in and put a few dollars behind it and geofence that video to your 5-mile radius, as our Joseph Hughes says. Can't wait. Hopefully one day I can find a good saying like this. Be 5-mile famous.
Yeah.
It's a great saying. I steal it all the time. But imagine, then what happens is, it's so cool, Michael, and you know this, you start to get this snowball effect where somebody in your community, because you put some dollars behind it, starts to see that ad. Well, they watch it, your watch time goes up, and now other videos start to appear close to your business. And people begin to look at you as the authority in roofing or in flooring or in first-party claims or whatever you do. But if you don't put the answers out there, they're going to find the answers from someone else. Why shouldn't it be you? And if you believe you're the best at what you do, shouldn't you be the one answering their questions? And if you don't have that much confidence in yourself, no matter what content you put out, your business ain't going to survive.
Go work for someone else, right?
Correct. But I'm so passionate right now about YouTube because I think that so many people are focused on the Instagram, Facebook side or LinkedIn. They're neglecting YouTube because they don't understand the back end of YouTube. And it's not tough. You just have to learn and trial and error. We're still learning every day.
Yeah.
But you can make a real darn good dent in it by just getting 20 questions together and starting with videos that answer those. That's what I'm hot on.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a drum I've been banging as far as like the FAQs. Whether it's social media, whether it's YouTube, like in the specific sense, like YouTube, I agree. It's the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. It's owned by Google, right? There's tons of opportunity there. And a lot of guys, like when they talk about, what can I do? Most roofers aren't going to be in my target market because we work with like aggressively growth-minded roofers, and like that's fine. That's why I create the YouTube as a resource for all of those that do fit in, but even all of those that don't, right? The 99% that don't fit into being a partner for us at that time, right? And it's like, what can I do to help my organic, to help my SEO on my own? That's a really fucking good place to start. You make videos about all the shit that people have asked you over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Put that up on YouTube and then just transcribe that. Let YouTube transcribe that and take the content of that video and throw it into your blog. Throw a picture, embed the YouTube clip into the top of the blog post. shoot a quick video about the blog post, right? Maybe you've got 2 videos in that blog post. Like, that's the type of shit that will help you from an organic perspective. That's not really going to cost you anything. That's really good advice, dude. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I know you're backing that up. I've heard you talk about it before, so I love the blog idea. I think what I've seen out there in the field is everybody knows what they should do. They're like, I know I should pay more attention to YouTube. I know I should be running ads. Well, why aren't you? Nah, I don't know. And then what I look at people and say is, yeah, you do. You just don't want to be real about it. The real reason you don't is because you're insecure. That's the reason. Because you're afraid of what the judgment of others is going to be, and you're unwilling to admit that to yourself or to your employees. And when you get real about that, what'll happen is that it takes away some of that power that has over you. When you stand in front of your employees, this is the vulnerable I like. And I see a business owner go, guys, I want you to know you're going to be seeing some videos come out this week. I'm working with Patrick over there, and they ain't going to be good. I know you're going to want to give me a hard time, and you can, but I'm committed to doing this, and you're going to be too. We're all going to do one testimonial from every 4 people that you close. And I don't like doing this, and you're not going to like doing it, but it's time that I lead as a leader and show you how valuable this can be to our company. That's real leadership right there. I'm not good at it. I know you're not good at it. We're going to learn this thing together, and we're all going to be committed to this thing. What is that called? Like servant leadership type thing. I'm doing it first. And they let go of that. I'm so nervous. What are people going to think? We don't sound good. We don't look good. I think that people do really well to be real with themselves while they're not doing it. And I think let go of that. Let it move past it. Don't let it have that control over you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I got to tell you, people are like, oh, it comes so easy to you, Mike. You do this, and I love your content. I'm like, dude, let me tell you something. The first time I turned on a camera, like, I don't know, 6 months ago to start creating content, I was a fucking hot mess. All right, and I'm still not great. I'm working on getting better every day, and I still think I got a long way to go. But where I'm at now is markedly better from the first time I turned that camera on. And like, I'm typically like an extroverted person. I'm outgoing, but I just fucking froze up. And my first video I made was like 8 minutes. I shot it like 30 times because I didn't realize like how editing worked and that I could.
Yeah.
I get to 4.5 minutes and I'm like, motherfucker, I gotta redo this. It's like, but you'll learn, right? Like you learn through those repetitions. It's all good.
Absolutely. And people compare themselves constantly, and that's too bad. I mean, if you truly believe that Gary Vee jumps on and just does it that way all the time, you're crazy. Right. And they don't understand the tricks of editing. I'll give an example here. If you just want to bypass one of those mess ups, oftentimes people throw in like some B-roll over it, a picture of something, and you don't see that they just switched the video right there. You just hear the sound and it sounds like it flows. But if you don't edit, if you're not involved in that world, you constantly believe that everybody else has the ability to formulate and throw together sentences that are so engaging and all this. You're not seeing it take some 15 times to get it right.
Right.
You only see the finished product, and I would encourage people to try it themselves and see how empowering it can be to not let that have its control over you, and how successful it can be, and how it can change your outlook and change your business. It doesn't cost you anything. Yeah,
that's a really good point. And the fucking tricks of editing, right? There's some magicians out there. It's great.
Damn right.
Just do it. Do all the shit that you don't want to do, and you'll likely land in the place that you want to be, right? And getting on video is one of them. What is one of the biggest mistakes that you see from a content perspective for those that are doing content for their business?
Stop introducing yourself and your company in the video.
I fucking do it all the time.
Me too. Now, I tell people that in the beginning when I work with them, you're going to need to do it because it's going to get you comfortable leading into the video. But I'm probably going to get rid of the intro. So just so you know, in edit, I'm probably going to get rid of your, hey, this is Patrick Carr with Blue Collar Media Group. Today I want to talk to you about how to make engaging content. Or if I'm scrolling through a feed, you lost me. You've got to have a hook in there that's going to catch an individual, especially when you're a roofing contractor, because roofing ain't sexy.
Right.
It's boring. So you better show me something that's going to catch my attention the first 3 seconds, or I'm gone. But going into something like that is very difficult for people because they need that first sentence to get them. Okay, now I'm here.
Get
I'm
the
present.
engine going.
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm going to go ahead and delete the first part of it. So I'm just telling you, you say what you want. Um, and I think that's where the mistake that I see most often, if you're trying to create something that's going to grab attention.
So what should the opening be? What should they just lead with a quick hook? If I'm
Yeah,
a roofing
lead with-
contractor and I'm talking about roof rejuvenation, what should my hook be to grab your attention?
I would say something like I would say, let's see here, roofing, millions. So, all right, average roof in Florida costs $17,500. If you don't have that in the bank right now, then listen to what I'm about to say. Um, and then I'd go right into what it is. You don't have 17,500. Insurance companies in the state of Florida are paying less and less claims, but you want your roof to last, and your family deserves that. I'm here to introduce you to roof rejuvenation. That's right. You can rejuvenate your roof. You don't need to repair it. You don't need to replace it. Rejuvenate it. We'll show you how to get more life out of your roof for a fraction of the cost of a full roof replacement. You click the link below. I'll have somebody tell you can do it, and you can save thousands. Get in touch with us. Something like that.
Clear, concise, to the point. I fucking like it, dude. It's a great hook.
Yeah,
It's like
Hey,
it's
we
almost
try
like it's almost like you've done it before.
maybe a few times. But no, so that's what I think. I think getting the hook in the beginning is key. I think, but also not making it clickbait. I struggle with this. If you're going to hook somebody, make sure you actually have something that is valuable to them. If I'm going to hook you with that,
Right.
That'll piss somebody off. What do you mean? Where did this go? I thought you were asking me about money. This is now whatever this is. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. So not making it clickbaity, I think, is important too.
Yeah, it's challenging, right? Because people respond to good thumbnails, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
because you don't want to evoke that negative reaction when somebody clicks through and now they're disappointed because it's not everything they had hoped for, and it's like, well, if my click-through rate's dog shit because I don't make a really sweet, sweet thumbnail, then what? And it's like, what about the description? Yeah, I get it. I struggle with it too. It's all good.
Yeah, but we're learning, everybody is. I mean, and your mistakes help your clients.
Right.
That's what I love about what you're doing, because you get out there and you do it and you're like, well, that didn't work for me. Then you can turn around to your clients and go, listen, I've been trying this. It doesn't work, guys.
Right.
Or that we could improve it this way. And you know that because you've done it.
Right.
And so I think there's lessons to be learned in just creating.
No doubt about it. So, I mean, before you had your podcast, before you had Blue Collar Media Group, were you always a content enthusiast? What was your story in the former part of your life?
I hated social media in the former part of my life until truly. I went the year before I started Blue Collar Media Group. Personally, let me say this back up. 2 years before I started, I went a year and a half without making a post on social media. I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't like what it represented. I was working for a funding company, funding insurance claims. And I unfortunately got involved with a company that didn't have the funding to do the funding. And so it was robbing Peter to pay Paul. We became no better than the insurance companies because they were looking for ACV checks to come in, and then we were going to fund the RCV on the back end. And so, basically you have to chase down your money. It was kind of like what Captain or some of these others are trying to do right now, funding companies. Well, when I learned that we weren't paying in the time like we said we were going to do, and I was seeing there were problems with people's paychecks, including mine and the leadership, I quit and had no idea what I was going to do. I was $50,000 in credit card debt, $0. When I say $0, I have a snapshot of my bank account. Zero is across the board. And I just remember putting my hands in my face and what am I going to do? And the person I was dating at the time told me the same thing. They said, what are you doing, man? And I just said, I can't go on just for a paycheck telling people things are going to get better and they're not. And so I called up every client that we had that I worked with. I'm happy to say every single one of them, and talked to them extensively about what was happening, what I think they should do, how they're going to regain their money, because they had invested within me. I was the face of it. And the way that I built that is by running social media ads, because I thought we need to reach a national audience. Let me just learn. I was so fortunate that 2 companies that we worked with said, you know what, Pat, yeah, they screwed us over, but you didn't. But can you do for that company, or do for us what you did for that company across social media? Teach us how to do that. And so I began to do it. My My first contractor I worked with was in Jacksonville, Florida. And I remember I didn't have any money. I had no cameras. I had never edited a video before. I had never shot with a camera before. I'd had a videographer that did that for me previously, but I couldn't pay him. I had no idea what I was going to do. But here I am showing up to them on a $4,500 contract at that time with no equipment. And I'm a media company, Blue Collar Media Group, formed 4 days before that. I walked in, and the guy, I won't say the company's name, but if you listen to this, he would know. I walked in myself, and he's like, where's your, like, you have any equipment? Like, who are you with? You don't even have a shirt? You got no brand? Like, what the hell? And I walked in my cell phone. I said, listen, how I like to do these contracts in the beginning and how I previously did it with my customers is I always like to teach you how to do everything from your phone. Teach your sales reps. And I call it a social selling course, if you want to know the truth. So this will be my opportunity to get your sales reps involved with content on their phone and how to edit and do it. The real reason is because I had no other option. I never edited on a video. All I knew how to do was edit on my phone through a couple apps that I downloaded a few days before. Fortunately, they found some value in it. They gave me a $4,500 check at the end of the day, which they didn't know. Most of it went to fixing my car that broke down on the way, which has a whole other thing. So try to get an Uber from a rest stop on I-4, or on that time, 95, I'm sorry. Not fun. So that allowed, I bought one camera used, and I brought one lens, which was the wrong lens to buy, but I never bought a camera in my life. I had no idea what lenses, how they worked. And, the rest of the money kept the lights on at the time, and we were able to build from there.
Whew. So act as if, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's all I could do. Yeah. And that's an experience, and I remember it. And at the time, it wasn't very fun. I remember asking myself, I said, what are you doing, Pat? You're a fraud, man. I mean, no one's going to find value in this BS. Because there wasn't a podcast. I had nobody I could fall back on. Or, when you have success and you're able to look at it and go, okay, but I did this before. I had never done it before. I didn't know nobody that did know how to do it. But, over the next couple of months, I learned how to edit, learned everything I could about cameras. And thank God I did. Because there's nothing better than an owner of a company who knows how to do the job himself. And the people who work for you appreciate somebody that's done it. And if you're an owner out there, then if you don't know a certain part of your business, you're probably getting taken advantage of in that part. And I believe that. When somebody tells you that it takes this long to do this on a roof and you're not sure because you haven't done it in 10 years or you haven't worked extensively with that product, then you should probably know that they're probably not telling you the truth. Not because they're a bad person, but because you don't know any better. And you want to make sure that you know your business as well, if not more, than the people that you've hired and that have your name across their chest. And so it helped me to know from the ground up, how long does it take to edit a video? If I hadn't edited before, I'd have no idea. But fortunately now, we've got a base that I'm able to work off of after doing the company myself for, well over a year with no help.
Jesus. Yeah, I feel your pain, man. I mean, when I've got 2 cameras. I'm looking at one right now. And I went and bought a second one, so when I have people in office in my little studio here, and I don't even know how I'm going to do it once it happens. They're like, well, no, you don't run it through Riverside. You put a sound card in your whatever, the fucking mixer, and you do that. I'm like, hopefully I'll be able to pay somebody when the time comes and they can set it up for me. It was, dude, trying to figure out, like, if you've never done, like, a podcast, like, I deal in Google searches all fucking day, like, and I'm searching, like, how to set up a podcast studio, and it's like, dude, I couldn't find the information I needed. I searched it a million different ways, and I bought a couple wrong things, but I bought this Sony Alpha 7 III camera, and it seems to do the job, but they're like, what lens do you want? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. One that's going to make me not look like an asshole, like, one that'll be kind of focused in, and they're like asking me a bunch of questions I don't have answers to. It's very overwhelming.
Well, I use the same cameras. I look at like the Bud Light of cameras. It's good. It'll get the job done in about any setting. They're great cameras. I use the same ones. The A7 IIIs are great. But people, as you know, man, they will get bogged down by that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know how to create I don't even know what camera to buy. You know what? Heck with it. Right. Moving on. I don't have time to go learn cameras, so I don't have time. Then just use your phone, man. Like, you can, once you get a little into it, it becomes kind of fun. But if you're just beginning, You got a cell phone in your hand, do with 4K capabilities. That new one on the iPhone 14 is insane. And I think it's a powerful thing. Just work with what you got.
Yeah,
What
100.
you got is pretty good.
And you could go back to the Ascend Digital Agency YouTube channel. Like the first couple dozen that we shot were on cinematic mode without an external mic, right? Literally with a fucking tripod sitting right in front of my face. Mm-hmm. And I had people ask me, like, dude, your quality's great. Like, what are you using for a mic? I'm like, the fucking internal mic on my iPhone 14, or at that time was the 13. And even that cinematic mode was really good. Yeah.
You asked a question earlier about being comfortable in front of a camera. What I do Sober October each year, and along with doing Sober October, what I do is I try to challenge myself with a daily task that hopefully will make me better. I'll give you an example. One year I decided that I was going to do something like take a hike or go canoeing. I picked activities each day that I normally wouldn't do. This particular year, I wanted to become better at being in front of a camera. And I said, well, what is going to do that? How can I do 31 days of something that I can be committed to? And now here's the way I thought. This is only 2 years ago, by the way. And I said, I'm going to take my shirt off in front of the camera each night. I'm going to put a necktie on. And I'm going to call this 31 days a tie makes sense. And what I was going to do is try to take difficult things to talk about in the news. I was going to talk about them with no shirt and a tie on. And I thought to myself, one, I hate the vanity of it, which means I'll be way out of my comfort zone doing that. I'll receive a lot of negative comments too. But if I can do that, then come November 1st, if I can put on a polo, look halfway decent, and talk about something within my industry, ain't nothing gonna stop me. Not a negative comment. I've already been past that 100 times over the month before, and that's how I became better at it. A random thing to talk about for 8. And you can look at my Instagram. It's about 2 months ago. I saw one of the first videos I ever did, and I decided to repost it 2 years back, and it was all about how the worst thing you can put on your car are those stick figure families. And literally just a rant about that for, 4 minutes. And I got a lot of negative comments. Who are you, douchebag, meathead, bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Close it and moved on with my life. And so that's how I started in the content world, was literally doing that, become better in front of a camera.
The biggest growth is going to take place in those really uncomfortable situations. So to do something like that, I could see how that'd be uncomfortable, and I could, dude, that's amazing. That's a very strategic way to go about actualizing what you were trying to accomplish. I don't think that a lot of people would think of doing something like that.
Yeah, the one I did this year, man, is I have a problem with no in my life. I don't ask for what I want because I'm scared of no. And I knew that about myself. And I found a lady, a Yale professor, who does 100 days of no. We broke it down to 31. And what you do is you go out each day and you seek the answer no for something that's way out there. I'll give you an example. Walk into Starbucks, order your coffee, and ask them, well, listen, the only way I want this is if I can go behind the counter and make it. Can I make my own coffee? No, you can't do that. Then follow it up. Well, listen, I've got a terrible allergic reaction oftentimes. I'd love to at least be back there and make the coffee with someone just quickly just to make sure I'm going to be safe. Okay, well, can you stand here at the counter? Now, did I get exactly what I wanted? No. But this thing that I thought would have been impossible, like they're going to say no, I came pretty darn close. Mm-hmm. And if you can train yourself to go, okay, I'm going to hear no, you're oftentimes surprised how much you'll hear yes. I walked into Publix, our local grocery store, $60 worth of groceries. People behind me, I said, I need to get these for free. Why, do you not have the money? No, I have the money. But I really would mean a lot. The people called over a manager, brought me to the side. I got 25% off my groceries. Now, I ended up giving them, I'm believing you, I didn't take it. I'm not a douche. I gave the money back and whatever. I explained to them what I was doing, all right? But would people think you could get 25% off your groceries randomly just by asking? I'd say probably not. But so many people are afraid to hear no, me included. It was my activity to say, get past your own stuff, Patrick. Be okay with hearing no most of the time. But man, 20% of the time, your butt can get a yes.
Right.
So why don't you just take a chance? So little things like that, man. Sober October and kind of aligns with some growth.
Shoot your shot.
Take it, man.
Shoot your shot. No one else is going
All
to
you're
shoot
gonna
it
get
for
is
you. Yeah. That's interesting. So when did you become aware of your trepidation of hearing no, was that something you've always had and you were always aware of, or was there a particular instance that brought that out and shined some light on it?
Yeah, women. That's my problem. You know, I think that a lot of guys, like for me, I would be looked at as like, oh man, Pat, you're in shape. You're a decent looking guy. You can string together a few sentences. You have no problem with girls. And people say that to be, you know, like you're a good looking guy. Your hair looks amazing. You run a successful company. Maybe people would look at you and go, you can have anybody you want. But my life wasn't going that way. And I was like, why don't I have a woman in my life that I'm proud of? I mean, everyone's telling me I shouldn't have a problem. And it was because I finally found out that I'm only approaching women when I drink, or maybe when I was doing drugs or some stuff like that. And in my day-to-day life, I was too afraid to hear the answer no, because it would mess up my ego. And I'm like, man, Pat, this is having an effect on other parts of your life. You're not in business. You're not in meetings asking for what you want because you're afraid you're going to hear no. So unless it's a lay down, you're getting screwed over. You're screwing yourself over.
Right.
And I get emotional right now just thinking about it. And so I wanted to just try to step out of that comfort zone so hopefully I could be better in my life, better for employees, and maybe find somebody significant that I could be proud of. So that's really what it was. It was women that opened my eyes to it.
I think that's well, thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure it's not easy to share that. And thanks for the compliment on my hair, obviously.
Strong
Appreciate
hair,
that
man.
as well.
Strong hair.
I think that that's a far more pervasive issue than what people would think. And I think that it definitely manifests itself in that type of situation, especially with women. I mean, I've gone out with plenty of my friends who, if they're not on the sauce, you wouldn't think they were capable of doing anything other than just spitting out a random stream of consciousness. But they get a couple shooters in them, and I mean, they turn into fucking Don Juan, right? Jimmy Dean, like whatever. It's like, it's wild. But you're right. It comes back to, man, you don't want to hear no because you have an ego. You don't want that ego hurt. I mean, we've all been there, right? In some degree with something. Dude, yeah, that's fucking profound. And you've managed to work through that.
Somewhat. I mean, I still struggle, which is why like when I look at the podcast that I do, some of that is strategic in that I normally wouldn't have a conversation with some of the guests that I've had on. I got a guy named Brian Hess on last Friday, which will come out with it this week. His podcast runs an extremely successful company, and I normally wouldn't be a guy that I talk to. But what the podcast allows me to do is to approach it from a mutually beneficial place. I can have a conversation with you and do something for you, and you want to have the conversation with me to further your brand. Now I get a chance to have conversations without the podcast I normally wouldn't have because I might be afraid to personally put myself out there. It makes me better at it. And so there's a little bit of that. I'm hiding my deficiency by doing something else, by showing a different part of myself. But I still know the deficiency is there. I'm well aware of it. I'm definitely self-aware enough to know it's there.
Yeah, self-awareness is so crucial in life. And something that it's weird. It's something you always got to be focused on. And so is being self-aware. What makes you say, like in that particular instance, why don't you think that somebody like Brian you would typically connect with outside of the podcast?
I guess if I was going to be honest with you, I feel as though I don't have enough self-worth to talk to somebody. Maybe because I don't feel like I've done it. As I'm walking through this in my head with you, some people that are very successful in business, I'll give another example. Jason, an owner of a company called Eustace Roofing. They were Roofer of the Year from Dmitry Lipinski's group last year, along with Martin Pettigrew from Monarch over there.
Yep.
I would never have started a conversation with Jason without the podcast. And then I went and I sat down with the guy, and he's like, man, I followed your content. I watch it all the time, and what's going on in the roofing industry. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I wouldn't have talked to this guy. He's got a $50 million company. That's not me. And I think that I struggle with the fact of here it is. Now I'm thinking about this. Perhaps I struggle with people that I feel have done more, even though I feel like one day I'll get there. Like, I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't have the right to question what you're doing, even if it's in a friendly way to try to bring value. But the podcast has allowed me to get out of that and to just, especially because it's grown a little bit, to approach somebody with, hey, I can offer you this. When in reality, what it is, it's so therapeutic for me to get me out of my comfort zone I normally wouldn't even do. So maybe it's because I feel like I haven't done it. I haven't accomplished it yet. I don't have the right to yet.
I could see, like, that makes sense. As you walk me through that, like the rationale and the logic behind it, I could see why you'd feel that way. You have a lot of people that listen to your stuff, man, and value that. So I think, it's, God, don't feel that way. You're killing it, man.
It's a fair question that you asked, and not one I'm literally this off the cuff right there thinking about it. And man, maybe and believe me, I'm going to give some thought to that after this. But that's the first time I've really thought about it in that perspective. So I appreciate you asking the question.
Yeah, no doubt. What
I wanted to mention one thing we just mentioned a minute ago.
Sure.
Self-awareness. I think it's important for asking my mind. There's difference between self-awareness, which people have, and emotional intelligence. I think a lot of people are emotionally intelligent, meaning that they can yell at an employee, and then after they get done yelling at their employee, can go, damn, I shouldn't have done that. That was way out of line. I'm going to go apologize tomorrow when I get back to the office. That in of itself is emotional intelligence. You're intelligent enough, you made a bad decision. Self-awareness is being in the moment with that employee, knowing you want to yell, stopping it because you have previous experience to build on, being strong enough and self-aware enough in the moment, and then making a different decision in the moment. And so I think those are two things that are confused. You want self-awareness and emotional intelligence, but I find a lot more people are emotionally intelligent because being self-aware is a lot tougher. To be able in the moment change the way you were speaking or acting or the decision you're making in the moment, and then adjust right there. So I would just say that about self-awareness versus the emotional intelligence side.
Bear with me as my small brain processes this. So I agree with that. The only thing that I think that I would differ a little bit in my opinion would be you can be self-aware and make the mistake. Now, if you consistently make that same mistake and you consistently take that out to yell at an employee and you lack that discipline in the moment, then I think it becomes the emotional intelligence thing. But I think that, you can be self-aware looking retrospectively and still make that mistake. But again, if you continuously make that same mistake, I don't think that that's self-awareness. Does that make sense?
It does. I think what I would say that I would build off that and say, if you've never had the experience before, much tougher to have self-awareness because you've never had something to build off of. Like you're saying, if you keep on doing it. But if you've had a situation like that before and you're still not self-aware enough to stop, then I would even say you're probably lacking emotional intelligence if you're real with yourself. You may tell yourself you're sorry, but are you really if you keep on doing it? But I think, if you've had the situation to build off of, it makes self-awareness much easier. And I think that's really cool when I meet somebody who's got great self-awareness.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fucking tough. Just like anything that requires discipline, right? Like self-awareness, it's easy not to be aware of oneself and hold oneself accountable. And I know that those are a bit different, but those are two characteristics that are incredibly refreshing when you capture somebody that has those. I can't agree more. What
Very cool.
Do you have any? Are there any exercises or things that you engage in that help you develop your ability to, whether it's be a better podcaster, be a better business owner, be more emotionally intelligent, be more self-aware? Like, what are things that you do to develop yourself that you find helpful?
Yeah, I do this activity once a week. I suggest doing it on Sunday if you can. Whatever, beginning of your week, anytime you pick and be good with it. 5-5-5 rule is what I say. So what I do is they take the camera here and I put it in front of me and I will talk for 5 minutes about a subject that I just want to talk about to myself. You're going to be the only one who sees this. And so I get done and I press end. And then what I do is I go, put the phone down and I put play and I listen to myself for 5 minutes. What is my audio vision of myself? Okay, there's a visual of myself with the audio, and I'm listening to it. Likes, whatever it might be. How do I sound? Do I sound too engaging? Am I too quick? And you have to be open and real with yourself. Cool. Turn the phone up, turn it on, put it on mute, and I watch myself for 5 minutes. What was this about? What was this move I did? Or, why do I keep on doing the Bill Clinton where I go like this? It's like my favorite go-to move. If everyone wants to watch Bill Clinton, he does one of these. So I'm watching for cues for 5 minutes. And then I use an app, there's a bunch of them out there, and I transcribe the words, and I read them. Does it make sense? Why did I use like and that, or Why is there a break right there? And I'm grading myself on my performance. And 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and 5 minutes to read that thing. And within 15 minutes, you've got you know how you look, you know how you sound, and really you know how impactful are my words. For instance, I'm very angry about this, or I'm really tired. Okay, very and really, you could find a different word. There's a different word that could be more impactful for the audience. So I'm looking for that as I read it. Why did I do that word there? Why did my vocabulary come out with something that was better? So I call it the 5-5-5 rule. You do it once a week and you'll get better in front of a camera.
I'm going to fuck around and do that this Sunday. I was watching a piece of content I shot a few weeks ago. Tons of like. And I'm like, for God's sakes, why the fuck did you say like 37 times over the course of 19 minutes?
Yes, I know. But people don't see that about you. They only see the guy on the podcast who, has got his stuff together and can formulate and string together the sentences and talk intelligently about a number of things. They don't see that side of it where you're grading yourself on a video where you didn't like the way you sounded. And so that's pretty cool because not a lot of people are able to do that, be self-aware enough or emotionally intelligent enough to be able to look at their videos that way.
Yeah, thanks, man. How do you... Okay. So something that I struggle with is always wanting to be better. I explain it like this. I'm running a race that is life, and it could be my business. It could be in a game of basketball. It could be whatever it is that I'm doing. And I look at it like that activity is a race. You can look at it at the micro or macro level. And the way my mind works is as soon as I'm about to cross the finish line, that finish line moves 2 miles down the road, which is amazing from like a productivity standpoint. Very, very productive person, in my opinion, and from what other people tell me. So the challenge with that is that you never get to enjoy the dubs as much, right? Like you get the victory and it's like, man, you're right off to the next fucking goal. Do you experience that at all?
Yeah, but you're doing something that I struggle to do. Tell me if I'm right on this. You're putting some kind of, when you say a goal, I'm sure there's a number, there's a tangible thing that tells you whether you lose or you win. Mm-hmm. I want to do 5 podcasts this week. It sounds like you have a goal, you hit it, then you move it to 6 podcasts the following week. Do I understand that right? Because this is what I struggle.
Yeah.
I don't do that. This is my biggest problem with goal settings. Especially when I don't understand something or I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. I will do something like, I'm going to do more podcasts this week than I've done before. What does that look like? How much did you do before? Well, I think I've done 5 in a week, 6 in a week. Okay, how do you know that then, Patrick? How do you know whether something is better if you have no attainable, you've not put a number to it? You don't have a goal because then I move my line in the past of what I've done. Well, I think I did pretty good this week. I did 4. It wasn't more than ever, but it was good. And I don't hold myself accountable to the number because I never gave it a number. I never said what the actual goal is. And I think a lot of people struggle with this, man, because it makes it a lot easier to fail when you don't have that, whatever word I'm looking for, but you have a number associated with it. It's measurable. That's what I'm looking for. When you have a measurable goal. I struggle with that a lot. It's a lot easier when I can just push it off as, I did good. I did a lot of podcasts this week. Okay, did you get 7? Did you do 7 like you said you were going to do? Well, I never really gave myself that number, so I can mentally scurry my way out of the fact that I failed. Not I did good, not that I was close, failed. Because I said 7 was what I needed to do, and I did 6. It's a yes or no, a black and white, and I've struggled with that in my life a lot.
So there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity for value to be derived on both sides of the frequency that we're transmitting on here. So why don't we're not done yet, but while we're in this conversation, we'll circle back maybe later on today or tomorrow, and we'll both define something that over the next 7 to 30 days, whatever it is, there's a week-long goal, a 30-day goal, and we'll be accountability partners for each other for one specific thing.
You got it, man.
And then we'll broadcast if we want to. We can broadcast what the goal is, and hopefully inspire others by doing it.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, man. I really do.
I like that. This is good. See, just tons of value coming my way from you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
What type of? You had mentioned drugs earlier, right? You're like, whether I'm drinking, I'm doing drugs. What kind of impact have drugs made on your life in the past?
I think what they do to you is they mask the problems that you have with yourself by giving you a momentary reprieve from really who you are inside. So masking that problem that you have with yourself, the anger or the disappointment or I guess, yeah, those are two big ones for me. And even if it's not, I didn't even recognize that I had it. What it did is it gave me the ability to put life away for 6 to 8 hours and to just feel like I was the man. Mm-hmm. Because I could feel that way when I'm, got a bunch of, let's say, powdered Red Bull. And when you got that and you're doing it, you feel so good. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of business owners choose cocaine.
Yeah.
Because they don't give them chance. They don't ever feel anything good. They just get this image in their head where they succeed, and then there's a problem. Then they put out that fire. Then they succeed. Then they go home, and they got bills to pay. They got kids to worry about. They got all this stuff. And it's just one after the other, and all people want is sometimes just a reprieve from it all.
Yeah.
Just give me a freaking break, man. Let me just feel this like I'm the man. I've worked so hard, and I want to be the man. I want to feel that way. And I think that's what it did for me. And it's sad because in the course of doing so, it's torn away years of my life, relationships. And like many people who struggle with this stuff, it's a constant struggle, and I fall off at times. I'll be the first one to say that, because I struggle with. I want to feel that way, and I think I deserve to feel that way, because man, I put in all this hard work. I'm tired of feeling average, and you give yourself permission, and then after giving yourself permission, you are unproductive for 2 days, right, because you've been out all night, strip clubs and partying and whatever else. Then you feel like crap about yourself, and it's this revolving door that people get into, and it all comes down to insecurities and self-worth. And I think that I've talked about a couple things here where that is something that I struggle with, and hopefully people can say that, hey man, we all got our own vices in life, and for some people it's porn, for some people it's infidelity. For some, it's drugs or alcohol. Other people, it might be something else. Maybe it's even healthy. But that's why I turned to it. I just wanted to feel like, hey, listen, I got this. I'm the man. And it didn't do that for me.
Yeah, I struggled with drugs like 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago to the day. I overdosed on opioids, right? I started taking 1 or 2 Lortabs. It's fine. Man, I'm super functional still at work, and I feel fucking euphoric. This is great. I'm going to smoke a little weed with it. Well, now I need 3 to get that feeling, and next thing you know, you're eating handfuls of pills, and you're getting hit with a Narcan pen in the back of an ambulance, which I tell you, it ain't fun. And, it was interesting because that's right when like Suboxone came onto the scene, and they're like, "Oh, just take this Suboxone." I'm like, "Nah, I'm just gonna go on a leave from work for 3 months and just sit in a room." It was fucking terrible. I'm very fortunate to have made it out of it, but yeah, I think And then I got into alcohol and, you know, just switched my compulsive energy to alcohol. It's fine. I'll just drink a bottle of liquor and a bunch of beer every day. And I had an aha moment, and I was walking my dog, and I was thinking about how nice, you know, my daughter at the time, I think, was like 10, 11, 9, somewhere between 9 and 11. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be so great when she has kids, and, like, I'm grandpa, and, you know, get to hang out with grandkids, and then send them back to their mom after we're done hanging out for a few hours. And I'm like, you know, I think about it. I'm like, dude, you're going to be fucking dead by the time you're 40 with the way that you're drinking. Like, if you don't fix this shit. And that's when that was like my aha moment. Then fast forward like 3 years and COVID came. And I fucked around and relapsed during COVID. Because, like, people that are good at selling, right? They can sell themselves equally effectively, right? So, like, 3 years had gone by. I'm locked in a fucking house for 4 months. I'm in New York. It was tough here. Not that it wasn't tough everywhere else, but, you know, I'm not the type of person that can be confined to a small space. I start going crazy, apparently. And I'm like, you know what? I'm 3 years older. I'm not an addict anymore. I'm way more mature now than I was then. I'm far more better equipped to exercise discretion and moderation. Listen, that was a fucking nightmarish mistake. It was literally like 3 to 4 months of drinking from fucking noon until the time I passed out. You know, start with a glass of wine, evolved into fucking, you know, mojitos and bottles of Tito's. And I'm like, you know what, dude? You have an issue that you're not going to be able to moderate these things. Do you ever golf, Patrick?
No, I don't. Can't do it. Tried it. Don't have the patience.
I suck at it too. So when you hit the ball and you try to hit it straight and it curves off to the right because of the way you're striking, it's called a slice, right? And I always tell people, like, you can fix your slice, which is way more challenging, where, like, you figure out mechanically what you're doing wrong, or you can play your slice, right, where you just aim to the left and hope it comes right back and ends up straight. And I feel like that's what I do in life is I play my slice. So I still have all that compulsive energy. I just try to focus on things like podcasting and working out and working. And, yeah, that's where we're at. So,
well, I've yet to find, and maybe you agree, like, you if you were to go back and do some of those pills right now, and I was with you, and you know, you did them, I doubt you'd be like, man, this feels like crap right now. Right. You'd be singing, this feels good. I remember I did this stuff.
I remember why.
Yeah. And then for me, I say this about, you know, with Coke, and I tell people this. One, I've never met somebody who did that, and in the moment, they're like, man, this feels like crap. You know? And that's what makes it. What I've seen is somebody go, okay, I can see why people get into this shit. And so when you do that, we talked about it earlier with, you know, not letting it have the control over you. When you realize, like, man, this does in fact feel good, and it does have some impact on my body, and it does have an effect on my life, and you start to say that to yourself, you will look at the decision differently to do it. And the thing that I use is you don't have to make good decisions every day. Sometimes you just have to make the right decisions in the moment. And for the friends that I've worked with or that I've talked to about this, if you're having that issue, I say take immediate action in a different direction, and it has to be physical. It has to be done. You have to do something, even if it seems so small. For me, it was just walking out of the room. I'm going to walk out, walk down to the end of the driveway, and I'm going to walk back in. All right? Am I still going to make the same decision? Maybe. I might. And there's a good chance I will. But might just go, I don't need to do this. That's a win. That's a win. And you have to give yourself credit for a win. And you may go back and do it 2 days later. But that moment you got right there, damn it, you won. And you should give yourself credit for that. And you may fail later. You may fail 10 other times. But that one time you showed yourself that you got some real guts to you. You got some brass balls. You did it that time. Well, I just walked down the hallway or walked down the driveway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you did something.
Right.
And that to me is where the victories are in these small moments. And the only thing that helped me was immediate physical action to do something different. And I still struggle with it today, but because it's going to be good when you do it, take the action to go in a different direction. Maybe you win, maybe you don't, but you gave yourself an opportunity.
Yeah, but you know what, dude? Every winning streak starts with one win, right?
Good point. Yes.
You know, so those small wins can compound into fucking massive gains. So I really do like that approach. That's really good insight.
And it works for everything else too. You want to go to the gym? Okay. You don't have to go to the gym and work out. You can go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill. So why don't you take immediate action to do it? Well, I'm sitting down right now. Then get up. You don't have to do anything more than that. I'm not saying you have to do anything other than get up. Well, now I'm at the gym. Now what? Walk. Walk on a treadmill.
Walk.
Put one foot in front of the other, because sometimes, man, that's all you might have in you. And because you think like, oh, listen, man, all I can do today is this. This is all I can do. That is my cross to bear today. And the burden I can carry is walking. Cool. Then walk. Most of the time what you'll see is that burden you thought you'll get there, in 15 minutes and you're like, well, I'm here. I've bared this cross. Let me go over here and put something up and lift it up. And I think that people would far underestimate the burden that they can carry because they're unwilling to try to carry it. And so carry that burden, put it on your shoulders, and find the purpose with your day by taking immediate action that's going to make your life better. And rewrite the story that you've told yourself in your head that you're not in shape, that I can't do it today, that I'm too damn tired. By just taking 1 minute, or 1 moment, 1 second to get up off the couch, to walk to the end of the driveway. Do something that's going to physically put you in a different state, and then you'll make an immediate impact in a positive direction, and you'll change the story that you tell yourself about who you are.
Isn't it fucking wild how strong our minds are and how like self-limiting what goes on in our minds can be?
So true.
And like,
the story, we've told ourselves a story for years. You're not smart. You're not in shape. You're not an athlete. I can't do that because I'm not good in front of a camera. I'm not a good boss because I can't motivate people. You've told yourself a story probably since you were in elementary school about who you are, but you don't even know why you feel that way anymore. I'm not good with numbers. I told myself that. Then all of a sudden, I started to realize I'm not bad with numbers. But I told myself that because I wasn't good in calculus in high school. So I'm not good with numbers. All these other smart people are. And then maybe you should just try to stop telling yourself the same damn story and tell yourself a different one. And your mind may take over and make you a better person. Like you said, it has such control over how we feel about ourselves. So much control.
Yeah, and to that point, fuck calculus.
Oh, right? Yeah. Never used that crap in my life ever.
I did really good at math up until advanced algebra and trigonometry. We started doing that shit, and I'm like, I just checked out, and I think that was the year. So my dad was an interesting guy. He was a roofer / GC, and we got these 5-week reports, right? We'll let you know how your kids are doing in school. So these motherfuckers sent them out on like the 23rd of December. And I had like 4 of my grades that were in the 70s. This dude flew off the handle. He threw all of our presents into the back of the truck in the middle of like a fucking snowstorm and dropped us off at our mom's house. And I'm thinking at the school, I'm like, it's your fault. It was my fault because my grades weren't to where I knew they should be. But that was fucking, it was wild, dude.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And algebra and trigonometry had a big part in that. So Miss Odessa, if you're watching, God damn you.
Yep. I remember my lady. I'll tell you the teacher who had the biggest impact on my life is a speech therapist in a positive way. I had a Miss Pendry was her name. I couldn't speak to save my life, and I still have a lisp that comes through. So it used to be something that really bothered me. It still bothers me. But that lady had a big impact on my life. I think it'd be kind of cool to see whatever happened to her because, I definitely would not be able to sit in front of a camera or done some of the things I've done in my life if that was constantly what I was thinking about, and that was a big impact in a positive way. I couldn't pronounce like 5 different letters.
No shit.
Yeah, L's, R's.
How old were you when you met her?
2nd grade. I don't know what people are in 2nd grade, so it had to be, I don't know, somewhere around being like 6 or 7, I would say. Yeah. Maybe a little bit younger. And I remember it was embarrassing because I got pulled out of class, and everyone, you're going to a speech therapist, you can't talk. And I went for 5 years throughout elementary school and middle school, trying to, get my speech to where it was, somewhat, I don't know, impactful, or people didn't have to only listen to a guy who sounded like Rocky Balboa. So that helped out a lot. Miss Pindry, I remember that.
Well, Miss Pendry, thank you for. You know, I would love to find a way to make sure she gets that message. You know how fulfilling that would be, fucking 30 years later, to hear the impact that you made on somebody's life to that degree.
Yeah, only teacher's name I probably remember is hers. And although embarrassing, she never made me feel like I was less of a student or a person or a kid because I didn't talk like everybody else. And it's funny because now people will tell me that maybe the most thing they remember about me is the voice. And I find that almost to be so ironic that it was one of the things that held me back as a child, but now maybe is something that people can remember in a positive way. Yeah, so it's interesting how that works.
Miss Pendry. I mean, you'd make her I don't want to say life, but it would be making more than making her day. I can't imagine. I'm trying to put myself in her shoes and like having a student come up to me decades later and be like, I can't express to you how big of an impact you made on my life, right? Like let's be honest. When you're a teacher, you're not doing it for the money.
No.
Right? Like teachers don't. I don't know. From what I understand, for the future of our country and the folks that are going to be a part of it, to be being educated by teachers, for them to make what they make, I think they should make a little bit more money.
100%.
You know, so I think that's what they're pursuing, is that feeling of making a difference. Man, that would be so meaningful. I'd love to be able to facilitate her hearing that.
Me too. I'm sure. Now that you mention it, I've mentioned her a few times on on my own podcast, a number of times. And it'd be pretty cool. I really, I think maybe a broader point is that we all are struggling with something in life. And when somebody can make you feel like what you're struggling with is okay, and they can help you work through it, and they look at you and say, hey man, I got you, I ain't gonna leave. You're going to work through this. We're going to get through this. I have the ability to get you better. I know it's hard now, but you're going to make it. And you get somebody who follows through on that and sits there and, not like 20 years later she contacted me and go, hey, listen, I saw you had a little success in business. Really would love this, this, and this. They do it completely selflessly. Right. Like, man, you make a good point. You just never know the impact that can make on a person when you just recognize that, man, I get what you're going through, and we're going to get you somewhere else.
Yeah, that's... Dude, this was fucking amazing.
Well, I got a question for you to end it. You got somebody that comes to mind, it doesn't have to be a teacher, but you got somebody that comes to mind, somebody you think that if they made an impact on you, you don't think they know the impact they made on you? It could be anybody. I'm just curious. For
me, it would be... maybe he did know. He's passed, but my stepfather.
Really?
Yeah, he. We grew up in a situation. We weren't dirt poor, but we were far from well off, or I would say even financially stable. But I'll tell you what, man. Every year, starting when I was like 11. He would take me. He would bring me to Jim Kelly football camp. I love football. Always played football, right? And I was the kid, right? I was always like struggled with my weight. Like Saturday morning, I'm 78 pounds when I got to be 75 pounds. He would take me to go run in a fucking garbage bag to get those last 3 pounds off every fucking week, like clockwork, right? But right around 11 or 12, they asked me if I wanted to start doing Jim Kelly camp, and I'm like, it's interesting as a kid, like you try to be like aware and cognizant of what's going on. I'm like, it's really expensive. It was a really expensive camp. It was like, $300 for the week or something back in, 1999. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to, but can we afford it? Right. And he's like, we'll make it happen or whatever. So like, not only would this fucking guy, this is just a testament of many of his character. He would take his 1 week off from work and drive me out to football camp and fucking sit there and watch every drill all day long. Like you get and you don't know what that means as a kid, but then as you become an adult and it's like, dude, if you get a week or two off to spend a fucking week at camp with your kid all day, no one else's parents did that. They dropped him off, come pick him up, and that's just how much that showed that he cared was just fucking amazing. He was such a good dude. Yeah,
that's cool, man. You think you take some of that now into your life?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. We'll talk. Hopefully in 20 years, or 10 years when my daughter's older, she's 15 now. I'll circle back with her and ask her, "Does any of these things from Grandpa Dave shine through, or did I completely botch this? Be honest with me."
That's great, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Very cool, man.
I see us having many conversations in the future. I am incredibly grateful for you taking time and engaging in truly meaningful conversation that I just know is going to make a huge impact to somebody, if not a ton of people. So thank you very much, Mr. Carr.
I appreciate it from you, man. And what I said in the beginning, I mean, the world needs more people like you. Your interest with the people that step in front of you is important and needed. You take a genuine interest in the people in front of you, and it is very cool to see. It's so needed. I hope you continue to do it. I really do, because I think that it's making a very positive impact. And as we said earlier, sometimes you don't know how great of an impact it's making, but I think you're definitely doing that. I know you are. I've seen it myself. So I hope you continue to do this, man. I think people will really appreciate your authenticity and who you are as a man.
That means a lot to me. It really does, dude. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks to your team. If there's anything that I can do, what we can do, whatever else, man, I'm here.
Likewise, brother.